Disclaimer. Please forgive me now, for there may be mispronunciations in this video. Lake Ripley is in Cambridge, Wisconsin, with a history of a lake serpent that may be connected to another lake. It has been described to be either a large snake or worm, but also has been described like the appearance of the Loch Ness. The earliest accounts of serpent activity begin in the summer of 1891. People believe that it had to do with the diminishing water depths of the nearby lake, Red Cedar Lake, that this serpent started showing itself. Locals theorize that the creature had been spotted in Red Cedar Lake, which has the same appearance, had traveled to the deeper Lake Ripley through an underground water channel that was thought to connect the two lakes. Even though the earliest sighting of the serpent was in summer of 1891, there is confusion on the timeline. A 1945 article from the Wisconsin State Journal states that the first sighting of the lake monster was not in 1891 but in 1861. It tells of two witnesses, Newton Hart and Norman Porter. They were fishing near the lake's island. The men would then see a giant animal or fish come out of the waves. The serpent had a head the size of a horse's and was shaped like that of a rattlesnake. The beast went wild, lashing its tail and spraying water from its nostrils. The creature was estimated to be at least 4 rods or 66 feet long. Chad Lewis of the Wisconsin Road Guide to Mysterious Creatures claims that the 1945 article simply got the date 1861 confused with 1891, based on the evidence that he couldn't find any other accounts of the serpent in Lake Ripley or Red Cedar Lake that predates the 1880s. There aren't any human deaths that have been attributed to the beast, but it is responsible for a few close calls. In 1895, 3 women were out on a September walk along the banks of the lake near dusk. According to the Chicago Daily Tribune, a terrible commotion was seen in the water. It was too close to the shore for the ladies' comfort. They watched the commotion as it got larger and larger until the women were frightened almost into spasms. In the late 1800s, the lake was depended upon for ice supplies, so every winter ice harvesters gathered on the icy lake to begin cutting. The Chicago Daily Tribune wrote of a winter encounter that put even the most hardened ice harvester in fear. In 1895, the men were out near the center of the lake inspecting the thickness and quality of the ice when they noticed a peculiar wavy black crease like mud stain beneath the surface of the clear ice. The men followed the brown line for nearly 100 feet. Then, all at once, the black seam began to writhe, and although the ice was a foot thick, it began to crack. In seconds, the black line disappeared. The men were frightened by this mysterious black line to the point the paper wrote, "Needless to add, the ice harvesters was down near the shore for the rest of the season." But even close to shore, they were unnerved because they kept feeling motions in the water throughout the winter. The 1896 Chicago Tribune apparently documented many events, but I was only able to find 2 mentioned in the Wisconsin Road Guide to Mysterious Creatures by Chad Lewis. There were floating platforms out in the water anchored in 15 feet of water. One July evening, when the sun was setting, the floats in front of the hotel began to rise into the air. The water around the floats was thrashing, as many spectators along the shore stated they saw something like an elephant rise up from the float on its head like a bonnet. Witnesses claimed that the float was lifted a clean 20 feet out of the water when suddenly dropped with a splash which broke a strong chain used for mooring. Later that same week, the area was expecting a storm. One evening before the storm came, a strange rushing noise was heard upon the water. The sound was followed by a loud hissing like a cyclone. At that moment, something passed over the surface, and witnesses swore it was the giant serpent. There was a farmer who was a non-believer, who was losing his sheep and hoe, and blaming it on the dogs. He'd carry his gun everywhere with him, threatening to shoot all the dogs he could find, but the dogs were never seen attacking the livestock. The paper mentioned how impossible it would be for a dog to be able to swallow a sheep whole. The 1896 Ocio Iliva Journal ran an article claiming that the lake serpent was just a hoax brought on by a local farmer who believed that the stories of a serpent would drive away tourists. He was fed up with the tourists stomping through his meadows and fields in order to get a closer look at the lake. It was alleged that he made up the story of the beast taking away his livestock to ward off visitors, but his plan backfired. Lake Ripley's sightings continued into the 1940s. which on July 19, 1945, the Gainesville Gazette wrote about the resurgence of the serpent sightings in the lake. The paper wrote that many unusual happenings and sounds were being reported by residents. Old-timers also complained that the number of fish in the lake had significantly decreased, the blame being placed on the serpent. What do you think? Did you like this video? Want to support this channel and get early access? Check out my Patreon page where I create content on cryptids, hauntings, serious killers, alien abductions, and much more. Can you support me there? Like, comment, and subscribe here.